Okay, so reading the introduction and the essays before, I think that like for Robin Boylern and Rachel Ramist, the two of them created this project in which they wanted to teach Black women in the Deep South, and they wanted to give them like the ability to do digital storytelling. And I think what Williams, they looked at, they sought out Fairlyn Williams to help them, and she said that while she was there, like she had never experienced such like raw vulnerability, and it wasn't lost on her that like that being the first time, like it was her first time ever being in the Deep South, and like experiencing that vulnerability as a Black woman there, like it was a lot, and it wasn't lost on her, the irony of it. So she said that the trust in the room really allowed for all of them to be able to share these stories openly, and the trust like is what built them and made it able to happen. And so for the first video that I watched was The Woman Who Raised Me. And this woman that is telling the story, her great aunt raised her. Her name was Sarah. And I think that this story was just very heart-wrenching. Sarah wasn't her real mom, it was her aunt. And she described her as the family fixer, the person that anybody came to with a problem. And so she kind of, at least when she was younger, saw herself as the problem that needed to be fixed, because her birth mother didn't really want her. She had been impregnated by a married man, and so she just kind of dumped her off at her aunt's house. And she never really got to talk to her aunt about it. She died on her 9th birthday, before she was old enough to like really articulate those questions and ask the right questions and get that story from her. And to me that's just so sad, because she never really got to know the woman who raised her, not in a real way. Then the second video that I watched was the Mama and Me Chronicles. This one I felt I related to a lot. She said her mom was recently diagnosed with dementia. Dementia runs in my family, and so I am really scared that one day like that'll be my mom. But she's telling the story of her mom who has dementia, and she's telling us that like she's the sole caretaker of this woman. She has been the sole caretaker of this woman as she has gotten her doctorate. She's a single woman. She, you know, she's living on her own, just her and her mom. And I think she said something. She said, only children push away from their overbearing mothers, or what they feel like are only overbearing mothers. And I feel like that's also me, because I'm my mom's only child, and at times I could definitely feel that. And like definitely in middle and high school, like our relationship wasn't the strongest, just because it just felt a little suffocating. But now it's a lot better, and I feel like maybe that's something all only children go through. But there's also a part in it that I found really beautiful when her and her mom were singing the church song. That's also something I noticed. There's a lot in the first few stories, at least that I watched, there's a lot of the theme of religion. They're very religious people, and I just think that's very beautiful. And then the last one that I watched was A Walking Color. This story just really aggravated me. Not the story itself, but the character of, or not even a character, she's not a character, the teacher in the story, who said that in front of the class she made all of the 3 Black children smile because she said that they had such beautiful smiles because their teeth were so white against their skin. And she said that in the moment she felt like she was being inspected for auction. And she didn't understand like why her teacher would do this, because her teacher was in an accident that had like deformed her face, and so she obviously like had to know what it was like to have people stare at you because your appearance is different. She said she realized later it's because she didn't even like recognize them as people, that she just recognized them as a walking color. And she just pushed down these feelings for so long of all of these people who treated her this way. And she talks about her later life and how she still kind of feels like sometimes she is a walking color, but other than that, she has, you know, a very beautiful life. She has a husband. She lives a very ordinary life, very beautiful life outside of the constant, just gazes of people who don't see her as a human being, which to me, it's so hard to imagine what that must be like, I guess. To have to ignore such a big and blatant obvious thing every day. But I think that it's very brave of all 3 of them to share these stories with us. And yes, and so and then the closing remarks, there were a couple things that I really took away. They said that digital stories can be duplicated without losing quality. And I thought that was just a really good point. You didn't even think about it because like, we live in such a digital age. Like, these things can be watched over and over and over again. And lastly, there's a quote. It said, "Their stories are reminders of how many times and in how many ways Black women are forced to start over with nothing, from nothing, to generate everything." Which I feel like is part of the reason why like these 3 women like wanted to teach them how to do digital storytelling, because those things are forever, they're concrete, like they'll always be there, so like they won't have to regenerate from nothing, because their stories will still always be there for everybody to see. And so I thought that was really beautiful. Yeah.